to get here?
Well, definitely 5G has been rolling out. Countries have been deciding one by one, and this has been years in the making. I think this decision by the UK is a big win for Huawei as it moves forward, and other countries start to make their own decisions, such as India and Canada. I think this 5G issue has become very politicized now, so it's a case of where technology meets politics.
And it certainly is the case, especially with the UK, of it being an individual country decision. But break down what Huawei and the UK both get out of this deal.
Well, I think Huawei can further its telecom and IoT capabilities with Huawei on board, because Huawei has very fast and very advanced technology and 5G, and it's also very cost effective. So it gives the UK a leap ahead in this very important technology for the future.
And Huawei obviously is in a number of other countries, but how big of a win is this particular one for Huawei? Is this the biggest win in terms of a country so far?
Well, I think it is. I mean, India will certainly be a big one if and when India decides. Canada is also going to be deciding, but many European countries had already decided in favor of Huawei or have been using Huawei 4G equipment. So the UK win is definitely a big win. There are many other countries that have banned Huawei altogether, such as Japan and Taiwan and Australia, New Zealand, and of course the US. Definitely the UK is making its own decision here separately from Europe.
And it's interesting because the UK is also a member of what's known as the Five Eyes intelligence sharing community, of which the United States, Australia, New Zealand and Canada are also members. Now, we know that the US and Australia have already barred Huawei. How do you see the US reacting to this?
Well, we've heard that Secretary Pompeo will be visiting the UK tomorrow, and I think, yes, I think the U.S. Is feeling threatened by the rise of Huawei in part. So it's seen as a security threat, cybersecurity threat, and maybe also a competitive threat as China has risen and its technology has leaped forward.
Now, we know that Huawei will be in the UK in a limited capacity. What's your take on how the UK navigated its high-risk vendor decision, and how do you see that working?
Well, that's all to be played out, I think. Definitely the UK is hedging by limiting Huawei to non-core activities. And it's interesting that the two other competitors that are vying for this business in the UK, Vodafone and Ericsson, are also using Huawei equipment. You know, it'll be interesting how this all shakes out.
So then to that point, do you see this spurring innovation from Nokia and Ericsson?
Well, it could. It may spur innovation from other companies as well that have, there's really only 4 competitors in this whole 5G race: Huawei, Nokia, Ericsson, and ZTE. And ZTE is another Chinese company. So definitely, I think this could spur innovation in this sector.
And as you mentioned ZTE, what do you think this means for other Chinese tech companies who'd really been getting a lot of negative backlash, especially from the US?
Oh, well, yes, this is true. And look, Huawei has defended itself against these attacks of spying and surveillance technologies. And many other Chinese companies have faced similar threats. So I think that this is a win not only for Huawei, but could be for other Chinese companies as they look to go outside the Chinese borders and do more business overseas.
And please give us some context. Just how important is this to Huawei's overall business, considering the size and the scope of the company?
Well, it's very important. Huawei is not only a networking equipment maker, but it's also a handset maker, and it's very large in both sectors. The networking equipment is about half of its business, so it's very important. And 5G is the next generation of technologies in telecom, and it's going to change, you know, revolutionize IoT and communication. So it's very important to Huawei's future, or whoever's future, you know, the leading company in this sector.
And obviously, as one of the tech titans in China, what should we be keeping an eye on with Huawei this coming year?
Well, let's see. I think definitely the rollout of 5G in developing markets. Huawei is offering a very good price and combining its handsets and its telecom equipment gear together in a package. And this is very compelling to many developing markets that are, have limited budgets. So this, I think, watching how Huawei takes this win and leverages it for other markets will be something to watch.
All right, always good to have you.